guys, it's your boy Luke here for a quick hitter video with our top 5 prize picks targets for round 4 of the Waste Management Phoenix Open. This is going to be a quick video. Last night got a little bit tied up with my friends. They wanted to go out. I wanted to go out, so figured we'd get out a video this morning instead. So of course, this will be up for about an hour and a half before the slate, but a lot of the people that we're targeting aren't starting until later in the day. So we will have time to be able to get them into our lineups, that sort of stuff. Yesterday's picks, we ended up going 3 for 5. Bubba Watson hit the over on fairways by 1, and Jordan Spieth ended up missing a few birdie putts down the stretch to not push. So it was a little bit of a bad beat for us. 3 for 5, got a little bit of our money back, but our greens and regulation card ended up hitting the under on all 5 of those golfers identified, and same thing with our fairways prop. So was saved by the smaller stat cards that I told you guys I was going to be placing, and a lot of that came down to the overs with the birdies are better, right? Gooch ended up tying in our main card, the under for Jordan Spieth ended up hitting, and that was really our main, let's say, takeaway from yesterday's, right? It was very hard to get out there and make birdies. Unless you absolutely had your best stuff, you were hitting almost every single green regulation. Getting to 5, 6, even 7 under par like Scotty Scheffler did was pretty much impossible. We do have very similar conditions for Sunday, relatively low wind throughout the day. The greens will be very hard to hit as they are extremely firm and fast. And of course the fairways, some of the most difficult on tour to hit as well. But rather than targeting greens and regulation and fairways, we're actually going to be targeting strokes for all 5 of our targets. We'll hop into why when we get into the targets there, but it's just a little bit more consistent in the market that's the most ripe here for Sunday. All right, guys, on the screen, you can see the board for today. And as I said, we're going to the strokes market for all of our picks here. I will still have a few cards mixed in with greens, fairways and regulation, that type of stuff. We'll quickly touch on that at the end. But the main market for tomorrow is going to be strokes. And anytime you have a Sunday event, particularly a high profile event like the Waste Management Phoenix Open, there is a ton of nerves, particularly for some of those guys up top. And while I wish we had a Sahith Theegala prop, the guy who's winning right now, in first place, extremely young player, so we could fade him, he's not on the board, right? So we're going to have to be a little bit more creative with it. Some of the guys that are more established veterans that have inflated lines, we can still take the under on them. The guys like Xander Schofley, which we'll get to here towards the middle of this preview, that hasn't won in over 2 years, has crumbled time and time again. I mean, the Masters comes into mind multiple times where he's had a 3-round lead and thrown it away. He's the type of guy that you fade on a Sunday. So we'll get to that here in a second. We go to the bottom though. Somebody will be taking on a rare under on Sunday is going to be Abraham Ancer, and something that adds to the difficulty at this golf course is going to be the pin locations, right? On Friday, the pin locations were a little bit more difficult. That's why we saw a scoring average closer to 0.7 under par. On Saturday, on moving day, they were all at extremely gettable spots. I mean, the par 5s were pretty much set up to have eagles on them. That's why we saw so many in the field yesterday. A drivable par 4 had by far the easiest pin location that they'll have the whole week. So that should have been the easiest round. So even though they had that wind in play, that's why it was so gettable. On Sunday, we know the opposite to be true. That's when they're looking to bite players, to really test them mentally, all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a more difficult day. And if we take a look at the data golf model for yesterday, you can see the average score was 1.12 under par, which is pretty excellent. I do expect it to regress to maybe something closer to 1 under par. We do have the very best players left in the field here. But again, these pin locations are going to be a little bit more difficult. Even with that being said, though, for Abraham Ancer to get the 2 under par to push this, 3, 4, 5 to end up winning is extremely reasonable. This golf course is perfectly set up for Ancer at the moment. Because these fairways are so bouncy, they put such a priority on hitting them so you can get that extra rollout. Ancer's been hitting 320, 340 yard drives this week, which is completely unheard of for him. He's really only carrying at 295, 300 yards at the very most when he puts a lot into his swings. So for him to be able to get that extra rollout has been massive. He has smaller wedges into these greens. He's been able to take advantage, particularly on Thursday and Friday, when he was one of the most accurate players in the entire field. So the fact that he had a rough Saturday, I'm not going to let it hold me back. It was extremely windy. He's somebody who hasn't really been the best in wind historically. In fact, for his career, a loser to the field in windy conditions. So somebody I'm looking to buy back in on with the wind out of play. So I like the accuracy. I like the fact that he's an extremely consistent player. And at the very worst, I see him pushing here. Next up, we're going to go on to Adam Hadwin, one of the overs that we'll be taking. He's close to the lead. He's at 11 under par, 3 off the lead as it stands. And these are the type of people we're looking to actively fade on the weekend. He's looked good to this point. Of course, the ball striking was there. He was hitting everything to 3 or 4 feet yesterday. But it's crazy on Sunday how all of that seems to change. You saw that last week with a lot of those younger players up top. many of them got off to horrendous starts. Hostler was the only one that really was able to keep it together. He started 3 or 4 over par and was able to get it back to a respectable 1 under par by the end of the day. But most of them completely blew up and went to the 20th or even 30th places on the leaderboard. Hadwin, it doesn't have to be quite that drastic of a blow up to end up hitting the over here. Of course, if he shoots 2 under par, which would be more than a respectable score on this golf course, in fact, that would still be well above average, he would still hit the over, right? So he has to shoot 3, 4 under par, which would be one of the better rounds of the day to end up hitting the under here, which makes it one of the easiest over picks that we have on the slate. Nerves in play only makes it that much stronger of a play, which is why it's one of the key cornerstones that I'll be building around. Next up, let's go on to Xander Schofley. Told you guys that would be talking about him. His number a lot more aggressive at 67.5, and he's also somebody that I like taking the over on Sunday because of the nerves that he's shown. I mean, yesterday you even saw it for a lot of those holes with water. He pulled 3 shots into the water yesterday, but still had a respectable round. So that shows you how strong his ball striking was. Unfortunately, though, that was enough to get to 4 under par. That would have been this by just 0.5 strokes. So if he has his best stuff, and that's the best that he can muster, we know he's going to have those Sunday nerves. I mean, there's just the best players in the world all chasing him down, or at the very least tied with him up towards the top of the leaderboard. I'm going to be taking the over here. It's something that down in the Discord, I was talking to Tylee Hero about it. He completely agreed with me. Anytime you have somebody that is breaking down on Sundays, not somebody you want to be targeting in any market, whether it's DFS or, of course, over here on the prize picks market. So we'll be taking the over there. Doing so also gives us the ability to get this to a 12.5x flex play, which makes it even all that more enticing to take it on Xander. Next up, let's go down to Jordan Spieth. We're going to be taking the under 69 strokes. If Jordan Spieth is priced higher than Adam Hadwin, you know it's going to be a good line. I mean, yesterday he ended up not having a very good round. He made 2 eagles, a birdie, but couldn't make anything else throughout the day. He had multiple putts of less than 20 feet. And if there's anyone that's usually cashing in those opportunities, it is Spieth. The one issue yesterday was the driver play. He hardly hit any fairways on the day. If he's able to turn that around, though, this course really sets up for him well. We saw him shoot 10 under par last year at this same event on Saturday. So perhaps he can muster up some of that magic. He doesn't even need all that much of it to get to 3 or 4 under par. And I still have him getting to the 3 under par mark, which is a 68, right around 58% of the time. I have him getting to a 69, which is 2 under par, a whopping 70% of the time. So that's really what makes this such a great play here. He has a very good shot to at the very least push. Of course, still has plenty of probability to get above that mark as well. He's one of the more volatile players on tour. And just because he had the bad day yesterday and a lot of people have spoiled on him, doesn't mean that you should completely jump ship. And this is still one of the best players in the world. He's priced higher than players that are just clearly inferior to him. I mean, a clear option was Adam Hadwin and Bubba Watson. But even guys like a Scotty Scheffler, a Louis Oosthuizen, you could argue that Spieth is a much better player, right? He might not have shown it during this event, but historically, in terms of pedigree, is a better player. So that's why we're going to be taking the under on Jordan Spieth there. And now, finally, the last pick we'll be taking, it's going to be Bubba Watson at 68.5. Very similar story to Adam Hadwin. We're taking the over, right? He's towards the top of the leaderboard. He's nowhere near the same player that he was in the past. So even though he has elite course history here at TPC Scottsdale, it's not necessarily something that we can rely on. We know that he's been volatile at best over these last 3 to 4 months. And outside of his second place finish last week at the Saudi International, he's done nothing. So it's not like we can have a lot of confidence in a Bubba Watson going into this week. And just like Hadwin, he has to get to 3 under par to hit the under here. And even a good round from Bubba Watson, likely going to be 2, maybe 3 under par. So that's why I really like taking the over here. He's somebody who, if he plays to the average, or at least his historical average, is shooting 70, 71, maybe 69 at the very best. It's going to take something special from Bubba Watson to pull off an under here when it comes to the strokes. Something to note as well is that the driver was extremely inaccurate yesterday. He ended up hitting 9 fairways, which is why we ended up losing that prop. But when he was missing fairways, he was missing them wildly. He was missing them into the desert area plenty of times in bunkers. And the fact that he was able to muster the score that he did yesterday was extremely lucky. And if he ends up doing that once again, he's not going to get lucky every single time. And if he ends up with that double or the triple bogey, that could pretty much seal the over here. So I really do like that. I don't think he gets away with it once again, which is why he comes in as my 5th cornerstone prop for tonight's slate. Real quickly before we get out of here, because again, I got to get this up so you guys can enjoy it before the slate starts. With birdies or better, I don't think it's the market to target today. If anything, I'd probably be taking the unders, particularly on some of these bad putters, people like Hideki Matsuyama. 5 birdies is a lot to ask for from him. Going down a little bit further, Adam Hadwin's not the best putter. Bubba Watson's certainly not the best putter. You could consider the unders there. But in general, I don't think it's the best market. Going over to greens and regulation might make a little bit more sense. Just like on Friday, just like on Thursday, frankly, we want to take a ton of the unders here, right? Even for guys like a Jordan Spieth that we expect to have a relatively good round, he may hit less than 14 greens in regulation, just with how firm and fast these greens are. So it's not the best market. This is why I like going to the strokes market a little bit more. But mixing in a few cards with some of the unders here can make sense. Adam Hadwin would be a prime target here, at least from just the first look I'm taking a look at. Billy Horschel as well. At 13, you consider taking the under on Kevin Kisner again. The irons looked horrible yesterday. You could take a Brian Harman, Matthew Fitzpatrick, but these numbers seem a little bit more fair. The other day they were at 13.5, especially guys like a Matthew Fitzpatrick, even a Bubba Watson. So not nearly the same plays that they were there, but still people that I'd consider, especially if you're looking to differentiate. And lastly, over here at fairways hit, it'd be taking the unders on pretty much everybody once again. Some of these high-end options, I'd actually be a little bit more prone to going to than over there in greens and regulation. Cantlay, not always the most accurate driver of the golf ball. Rahm has not been very solid off the tee this week. Or even Xander Schofley, who's looked good this week. Historically, he's not very accurate. So I would consider taking the under in all of those guys. 8.5 for Jordan Spieth seems a little bit high. 8.5 for Scotty Scheffler also seems a little bit high. I actually take the over in Hideki at 8. He's an extremely accurate driver, so that's a rare switch up right there from one of these props. And going down a little bit further, yeah, I mean, this 7 and 7.5 for Brooks and JT, that seems about accurate, right? They're not very accurate drivers of the golf ball, but they're priced for the occasion. So again, I would stick to the most part with these strokes props. And as always, guys, I like doing the 5-leg flex plays. Again, if we get 3 right, we get some of our money back, but the money starts with 4 and 5 pick. And of course, if we get all 5, we get that 12.5x value. I'm going to be entering this card on $50 today. So if we end up hitting on that, it's going to be for over $600. So let's go ahead and hope we end up hitting that for today. Would be pretty nice. Of course, with a mediocre at best start to the weekend, we've hit so far on 3 of our 8 cards. We need something big to end this weekend to really put us in the huge profit. As of right now, a slight loser for the week. So hopefully this ends up coming through for us. That's all I've got for today's Prize Picks preview. Before you go on and get out of here, go ahead and let me know down in the comments what your favorite prop on the board is. It doesn't have to be anything that I identified. It could be something completely off my radar, but whatever it is, go ahead and comment that down below. And as always, I appreciate all of your support here on the channel, an absolute ton. If you guys haven't already liked the video or subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do so before you hop on out of here as well. I appreciate it. I look forward to giving you guys even more content going future. We're going to have all the content for Prize Picks for Thursday through Sunday for next week's Genesis Invitational. Of course, also all of our DFS content and course breakdowns. So if you haven't subscribed, as I said before, make sure you go on and do so you don't miss any of that to come. Best of luck with all of your prop hunting for today. And let's hit that 12.5x parlay, huh?